So obviously from the title, thumbnail, and well, this right here, I'm sure you guys can guess what this video will be about. We're placing the torsion bar cross member in the Charger here, which is a bit of a big project. It's a little bit overwhelming and slightly scary because that is essentially the main structure point of the front of this car here. Step one is going to be finish cutting out the rest of the old torsion bar cross member, or at least what is left of it. If you watched the last video, you saw I plated this side over here because it was all rusted out, and I still got to cut out this section here, and then I'll carefully go through, remove the spot welds from the front frame rails because I'm going to be using those are good, and then take torsion bars out and all that, and then prep this to get it all welded in. But before I do any of that, I'm going to go through, I already have measurements of the cross member before I cut it. I'm going to go through, remeasure everything. I'm going to brace up, well, you can see this brace right here. I'm going to brace up the trans so the weight's off that. And ideally, yes, I would take the engine and trans out, but I have very limited space right now, nor do I have an engine hoist. So you know what, it's just going to stay in there. Not really what I wanted because it's a bunch of weight in the front, but I think if I stack up some blocks underneath it, I got it all braced up. Gonna do the best I can, take measurements beforehand, and just take every precaution and kind of do everything I can beforehand so that if it does move at all, at least I know what it was like before. Well, my light died, but hopefully you can still see this good enough. New cross member is in, old cross member is out. That was slightly sketchy, not gonna lie, but I have all these here, this is still here, and the car didn't fold in half, so I think it's fine. Went ahead, put the new cross member in. One, because I wanted to just see it in there, because I'm excited, and number two, I just kind of want to get a quick glance of everything and how it's going to line up. Obviously, this isn't prepped or anything at all. Like I said, I just kind of tossed it in there the moment I got everything ground down. So plan for tomorrow is start prepping this thing to go in. So I'll show the steps for that, but obviously it's going to be prepping everything, squaring it up. I'll have to jack up the ends of the frame rails. Obviously, they dip down. Shocker. Not really surprised at all. But yeah, all in all, not too bad. This thing pretty much dropped right in there as is, so it'll take a little bit more work to get everything fit up, but yeah, I'm tired. I got this mess to clean up, and then I'll get back on this thing after class and work tomorrow. Before I start getting the torsion bar cross member set in place in the car and prepping it for all that and everything, a few things I need to do to the bar itself actually. First thing being, I'm gonna go through and weld up all these holes. So the cross member has holes on this side for the brake line, and then on this side here is for the fuel lines that go through it. Now, I just don't like the way it looks because that means, you know, the fuel line would come in on the rocker here, and then it's, well, brake line on this side, come along the rocker here, and then it's got a zigzag, you know, in and do a bunch of curves, and same thing with the fuel line. It's flat along the rocker, and then it zigzags in. I don't like that. I would prefer to run my lines cleanly along the inside of the rockers. So once this is all set in place and I'm actually at the point of, you know, running the brake and fuel lines, I'll go ahead and drill holes through the side here. So that way when it comes on flat with the rockers, I can just do the lines straight through, and then they'll go through and then they'll bend up, you know, along the inner fender to go up to the front. So that's kind of a plan for this. It's going to be a lot of work. I got all these circles cut out here for the side ones here, and then there's also these drain holes on the bottom right there you can see. And now obviously drain holes are important, but if it's all welded up and all sealed up, you shouldn't need the drain holes in theory. So that's kind of my thought here. I think it'll look a lot nicer underneath. I'm really picky how I have things aligned and kind of all set in place, especially like wiring and plumbing and stuff like that. So that's why all my lines nice and straight along the inside of the inner rockers. That's the plan for that, just kind of thinking ahead here. And then I did mention earlier that I want to do coilovers on the front of this thing and get rid of the torsion bars, but I'm going to leave these on just for now to keep it safe in case plans change or something, or I have to put torsion bars in it for some reason to move it around or whatnot. But I like to have the car on the rotisserie hopefully one day, and then I could flip it over, cut these off, plate them up, and this thing will look pretty much seamless here. And then this section will probably get chopped out for a hopefully 5 or 6 speed is the plan. So yeah, there's not going to be much basically, I guess, original about this stock reproduction torsion bar cross member. Side one here is done. Got everything all welded up and ground down. So smooth, so nice. Although I did not really notice this before, but I don't know, just kind of caught it now. There is a crease in the cross member right here from, I'm assuming, shipping, and there was a hole right there, so I had to make a plate and weld that up. But you can see the crease right there, which kind of sucks because I don't have a way to pull it out. So once this is in the car, I'll probably just put a slide hammer on that and then just work that until it's smooth. But yeah, those two, and then I got the ones on the bottom, and then all the ones, all 4 on the other side here. So on to the next side with all those circles there. Moving on to prepping the frame rails and rockers to get the cross member actually in here. This side is all set and done. Obviously, if you saw the last video, I put that patch in there because that was all rusted out. So that's fresh, clean metal. Just cleaned up the areas where I'm going to be welding to in the frame rail on this one, and obviously it's all rusted on the inside. So once cross member is in, I'll go through wire wheel, rust convert that, and then paint that, and then I'll replace those pieces on top of the frame wheels, and then the floor will go on top of that. But for this side here, I need to do a patch, basically this whole section right here. And then as you can see, this is rusted, and this is what actually gets welded to the cross member, so it's somewhat important. So my plan is cut this flush here, cut this down, cut this down. I'll make a piece that'll sit in here with a 90. It'll come out like there. Same thing on this side, and then same thing on the bottom, but that'll just be a flat piece right there. So get all the panels welded up. I figured I'd go ahead and just kind of show the plug welds on the side here. So I did 5 there, and then 5 on this one. I somehow was able to sneak the drill in between there, kind of on an angle, and get it. And then I went ahead and just welded the tops of those there as well. Turned out pretty decent. Got this patch all welded up. Next step is to grind all the welds down, and then I'll go ahead and bend these tabs over, and then the torsion bar should slide up right against it. There we have it, final product. I ended up adding this little tab on the bottom here. As you can see, this side's got that tab as well, so the cross member will sit down on that. Everything grinded down, got it all nice and flush, and then ended up just putting some beads down the inside of this just because it's got that bend there, so for some reinforcements. And let's go ahead and toss the cross member on, see how it fits up. Quick mock-up before I clean up and go home because I can't leave without seeing this in place. Man, that looks so cool already with those all welded up and everything. This is looking pretty good so far. It's gonna take some tweaking because obviously some of this stuff got just a little bit twisted during shipping to get it all to align right, but that's just sitting on there. And yeah, happy with it. This side is pretty much dialed. I just gotta fix a little gap right here, get the cross member to drop down a little bit because some of the old metal I still gotta grind down, so I think that's causing my issue. But that was a lot of work just for pieces that people will never see, but obviously they're structurally important. And now I know it's done right, so I'm pretty happy with that, pretty proud of it. And on to tomorrow, where maybe I can get the rest of this thing welded up and hopefully call this project done. One thing I've also been wanting to do is to clean up the rockers here, so I'm doing a couple last little patches. You can see that one, I got that patch up there to do. That circle, and then all these are spots that were either low spots or had a hole, like that spot there and that spot there had a hole for the clip for the brake line, so I'm welding that up to make it seamless. These were just some spots that I nicked when I was cutting out the old floor, and same thing on this side. So I'm going to go ahead, grind all this down, make a couple little patches for that. Then I can weld through prime the inside of the rockers here, and that'll look nice and flush. The last step to this project here is replacing these pieces, which you can see are all rusted out right here. And then I got to do the same thing on this side, replace, I don't know, maybe about this section or so of the upper frame rail, so that looks clean. Same thing on this side. Then a little patch down there. So just a couple more patches, then I can prime all this, paint the inner rails. Oh, I also got to make circles and plug these, and then same with one down in the bottom there, and then I could call this project done. I can finally say now that the cross member is officially done, and that feels pretty freaking good to say, because this has been a ton of work. Well, let's take a look at it before I go ahead and talk about some things here. So as you can see, I think the newest piece, or kind of where I left off, was making these patches on top of the frame rails here, because obviously the old ones were super rusted and, well, didn't really exist. So I got both of those there. Can't remember if I showed exactly what I did, but I basically just made these plates here, pretty simple, clamped them all down, bent them to shape. Once I got the shape, I went ahead and just drilled holes all along the side for spot welds or plug welds, whatever you want to call them. Plug welded them all down, then I left a little gap, I don't know, maybe like an 1/8 inch or so on the side here all the way around, so that I went through and just welded the sides. So that's all boxed in. I did have a thought about boxing in the rest of this frame rail here, but this is how they came from factory, was just up until these marks. Pretty much it's like 1 inch in front of that hole there is what I measured from the old stuff and what I could find online. So I don't know. We'll see how the floor fits, and if there is space, I might go ahead and just finish plating off the rest just to box it up for strength. I don't really think it's necessary, because I am going to do subframe connectors and, well, a lot of other things, including a cage, to structurally make this car sound. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I don't know, I might end up doing it, just something on the list to think about. And then that just kind of snowballed into a bunch more other patches. So there's a patch on this bottom half pretty much up until about there. I had to add another one in about there or so that was rusted. This lip from, well, like here or so all the way up until under there was shot. Same thing with like a little section up there, and then this side right here. So there's been a ton of mini patches all in here just to make this all work. That's why this stuff takes time. No one will ever see this stuff, but obviously it's important and it's got to get done. And then to finish everything off here, I went ahead and threw some rust converter on the inside of the frame rails there, just because I couldn't really get a wire wheel down in there. So I did that on both sides. Then I'm painting that black, so let's get a couple coats on there, some rust converters. Hopefully that'll prevent that. I'll go ahead and weld up those holes with plates from the outside later on. Probably once it's on a rotisserie, I can flip it over and easily access that. I want them to turn out good, because you're obviously going to be able to see that, and it's going to be challenging with, you know, working in that little space. So I'll do that down the line, still keeping that in mind. Same thing for the cross member here, painted it black on the inside. We got weld through primer along everywhere. Went ahead and wire wheeled up all of the rockers here. Had to weld up a couple like nicks that I cut while cutting out the old floor there. Wire wheeled it, and then went ahead and weld through primed it. I'll do this section when I do the floor, because I got to do some fit and finish up there along the tops. But as for the frame rails, the cross member, and the rockers, I mean, that is pretty much it. I'm very happy with the way this turned out. Obviously, I mean, it's a cross member at the end of the day, but for these cars, that is a very big piece, structurally important. It's a tricky piece nonetheless. And I took my time, went ahead, made sure everything was square, measured it, double checked it, did the best I could, and I think it turned out pretty solid. So I am happy with it. That looks brand new. I mean, this car is going to look like all brand new at the end, and that's going to be a cool feeling once it's all done. So that is step one out of, well, many more steps here. So there's a long way to go. It's a good first step. And just keep plugging along here. In the next video, I don't know what it'll be. I got a bunch of stuff coming up this month video-wise. Got a bunch of plans, some cool stuff. But the next probably video on this car, metal-wise, will be this thing right here. So look forward to that. Leave any comments, suggestions, constructive criticism in the comments. I've been looking at most of it, taking it all in consideration. I mean, It's a couple of videos ago, like maybe a month or two ago, you guys said you wanted the audio bumped up, couldn't hear me. Been working on that, trying to get that up. Got a new editing software, been doing some stuff with that, trying to film more of the actual work, and you guys have noticed it, which has been cool. So just trying to make this better, I guess, for everyone here. I don't know what to do without your guys' help, because I don't really know what I'm doing. So that's kind of where I'm at. I just build junk basically. So yeah, that's been pretty cool to work on. I gotta stop talking and finish cleaning up here. See you next time.